We also have company on the broadcast with us. Pratik Gattani joins us live at the moment. Pratik, you think restoring political stability after years of Tory infighting could actually reinvigorate private investment in Britain under Keir Starmer's leadership?
Yeah, I think the biggest problem Britain has had over the last decade is a change in leadership very regularly. We've had 19 housing secretaries. We've had dozens of other ministers change throughout. The biggest change that Keir Starmer brings is stability and good governance over the next 5 years. If that's in place, Britain becomes a much more attractive proposition for the US, for Europe, and countries like India to do business with once more.
Well, many say that for Keir Starmer, this is going to be a grand wedding, but a very short-lived honeymoon. Can you take us through some of the challenges that lie straight up ahead for the Labour government?
Well, I think that this is what really doomed Rishi Sunak as well. The best day of his time in government was the day he got elected, and it was downhill after then because he had insurmountable challenges which were on the economic front as well as the cultural front that he himself wasn't able to tackle. So Keir Starmer inherits the highest debt to GDP ratio Britain has had since the Second World War. He inherits a cost of living crisis. He inherits, for the first time, I've been in Britain for more than 20 years, and for the first time I can say that parts of the country look like a broken society. Things don't work, bin collections don't happen on time, there are more people sleeping on the streets, rough.
A crack crisis, less jobs, the list goes on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So these are things that one administration can't really solve. These are problems that have been created over the last decade, and they'll take at least a decade to solve, particularly the debt to GDP problem. And this has been caused actually largely by the previous Prime Minister, Liz Truss. Britain borrowed very heavily during COVID when interest rates were really cheap. They skyrocketed within the space of a few months. So actually Britain spends billions of pounds, about 40 billion pounds a year on debt interest that it didn't anticipate spending just 1.5 years ago.
But Pratik, you think a change of government will magically fill the black holes in the public finances in the next parliament, nor conjure up the thousands of additional medical staff needed for the NHS?
But I think that the problem Labour has is that during the campaign, it's been very safe in what it's said. What it's not said is far more important, which is there will be economic pain for all citizens in the UK over the next 5 years. Taxes will have to rise. There are 5 million underemployed people in the UK that have elected to come out of the job market. They need to be encouraged back to work. The NHS is facing crisis. That needs to be fixed. And you can't have British people doing those jobs simply because there aren't enough British people to work in the NHS. Migration, particularly from India, from East Africa and elsewhere, has to be a key part of the solution. The problem there is, now that the far-right Reform Party has got a few MPs in Parliament, they have consistently said that we want to crack down on migration. Illegal migration and legal migration, they've been mixed up in the public debate in Britain.
And many would say a moral panic has been created as far as asylum seekers, the word refugee is concerned, especially as far as the UK is concerned.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a real problem, I think, for British society. We are a liberal, a tolerant nation which welcomes people from across the world. In the last 4 years, we've had refugees from the Ukraine, from the Middle East, from Hong Kong as well, that have, not refugees, but migrants from Hong Kong once China has taken over there. So we're a very welcoming country. This kind of rhetoric is unhelpful for the cultural fabric of the UK. And this is something that Keir needs to fix.
Right. Also, Foreign Secretary David Cameron once had said that his time as Tory opposition leader was 5 years spent just banging his head against the wall. Now his party is braced to go through it all again, Ambassador Dayal?
Well, certainly there are major challenges which will have to be confronted. You referred to the NHS issue. That is something which is troubling the British people a lot. And that requires priority attention. Of course, the new Prime Minister-elect has said that he will give precedence to this issue. But it's not going to go away so easily. And as you said, this problem cannot be met only by what are the available manpower resources. And there will have to be a very close look at how the right kind of manpower could be imported. And certainly India is a country from where there is a possible availability of such resources. Now, at the same time, this migration issue has become a very big irritant. We all know about the Rwanda plan, where a lot of migrants who were there without proper documentation were planned to be shifted, relocated there. But I think the new Prime Minister has made it clear, the Prime Minister-elect, that he will shelve this Rwanda plan and that there will not be any action. But then the problem will still remain how to prevent these illegal migrants from coming over. They cross over through, from France, and there will have to be very strict policing. So I think some of these issues are going to be there. They have to be met. They have to be countered. And of course, closer cooperation with India. If it benefits Britain, if it benefits us, I think it will be very good for us and for everybody.
Starmer has said that his party is going to introduce a border security command. We also have with us senior journalist Vijay Rana. But before we go across to Mr. Rana, we're going to slip into a very quick break and be back with the latest in a moment.